white thing going.
Yeah, is it something swimming or is it just a piece of wood?
We need to go over there. Trying to go a little over there, Dad. I'm just telling you so then you don't steal. I'm gonna switch.
Hello, welcome to my channel, Edible Thoughts Makes. My name is Stephanie, and this channel is where I share with you my works in progress, finished projects, things I'm cooking up, books I'm reading, funny things my kids may say. My hope is that as you watch this episode and the previous episodes, that you find some inspiration along the way. This is, I believe, episode 88, and we are in the beginning of July, year 2022. It has been about a month since I have sat down to chat with you. I knew the summer would be busy, and once the kids are out of school, it's just all on the kids' schedule or lack thereof. My kids are ages 6 and 9, and we are on summer break. Our average highs here are like about mid-80s for the summer right now, and we're definitely there. I personally feel like anything above 75 or 78 degrees Fahrenheit is hot, but it's all relative. Our summers can feel humid, though I would say, I guess, not as humid as some other places that I have lived, but nevertheless, it is humid. This morning when I was out gardening and weeding, I definitely got 3 mosquito bites, but that also comes with summer. So yeah, today is overcast. It was supposed to rain today, so we hadn't had plans to be outside, but it might not rain. So I don't know, maybe I'll take the kids to the park later this afternoon, or yeah, I don't know, we'll see. A little bit different in recording right now. I'm actually recording on my phone, which may or may not work okay for me because I have this issue with connecting it to the computer to transfer the videos off. It seems to have issues with transferring anything larger than a couple of minutes. So we'll see how this goes. And the camcorder that I usually record on, it's this really old camcorder. I can't remember if it's like 10 plus years old or 7 years old. Anyway, it doesn't really hold its charge very well, and apparently it had no charge on it when I thought I would use it to record. So that's charging, and if that ends up working, I'll swap these out. So partially through this episode, things may look a little bit different, but that's just how it goes. Okay, I moved a little bit because it felt crooked. Hopefully it doesn't seem crooked anymore. In my glass today, I have a peppermint iced tea, and it's a little bit cloudy because it's one of those, I can't remember the company, but it's a powdery shape, I guess. It's molded into a shape, and then you just dissolve it with hot water. So I dissolved it with hot water and then poured it in with ice. So the hot water, I won't use the full amount recommended. I don't know, like 8 ounces or something like that. I just do less than that and then pour it in with ice because it will melt, and then I've got my iced drink. And here I have a lovely bouquet of hydrangeas from our garden. Oh, they are so beautiful. These are like the creamy white with a hint of green in them. And we did try to plant, I thought we planted some blue, or did we end up getting pink ones? I can't remember because I'm not sure if they held up. So also, I can't remember where we planted them because we had a couple spots that we were thinking about putting them. And since they aren't blooming right now, I don't know where they are. Anyway, we shall see where they end up blooming. I don't know where they are. But yeah, as far as the garden goes, I had inserted some footage in the beginning of this episode like I usually do. Oh, and if you are new here, a warm welcome. How I usually set up my episodes is I have a vlog in the beginning, just like a video compilation of things that have happened since the previous episode. So this time it would have been mostly through the month of June, different gardening things, different things I've maybe cooked. We also went canoeing down the St. Croix River, and that was super fun. It was the kids' first time. And I think it was my first time too, although I mean, as a kid, I've gone canoeing as well, so I don't remember if it would have been my first time down the St. Croix or not, but it was so much fun. As far as the garden goes, our peonies and iris all bloomed in June, so that's done. I think there's one later blooming iris that's coming up now, but I don't remember what it's called. And then I saw one echinacea bloom in the front. The lilies are all in bloom right now. So we have these peach colored ones, these deeper orange ones, and then yellow ones as well. And they're beautiful, you know, the ones that didn't get eaten by the deer. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that says deer resistant, but our deer seem to eat everything. So what didn't get eaten is blooming, and that's beautiful. I'm gonna look at my notes here. We did plant lettuce, and that's just continuing to grow. We planted 2 different varieties, and we just cut it down, and then it just keeps growing. Radish, the first round has been done, and I think I do still have some seeds, so I can plant a second round, and they come up so fast. I think within a week or a couple days, they sprout. So that's really exciting. Bok choy is done. That I don't remember if I have extra seeds to plant more for that one. The chard just grows all summer. You cut it down and it just keeps growing, and that's super exciting. We just saute with garlic and it's delicious. Cilantro we plant kind of routinely through the summer because if it gets really hot, it'll just bolt and flower. Some we let go to seed so that we can collect the seed, but we try to plant it in like several week increments so that we always have cilantro going. And then I cut it down and I either chop it up or put it in the fruit processor, and then I freeze it in ice cube trays so that I can save them for the winter. So once they freeze, then I just pop them out, put them in a bag and save them. And it's so nice to have that fresh taste of summer in the dead of winter. And I do that with the cilantro and the basil. Our green onions are kind of getting a slower start this summer, but I usually do it with the green onions as well. Last summer we had an abundance of tomatoes, so I was actually able to freeze several gallons of tomatoes, which has been so nice. And once our tomatoes get going here, we'll see if I have enough to freeze as well. Otherwise, you know, a lot of the stuff we do eat fresh and just eat daily, but what's extra we freeze. All right, let me check my notes here. We will, as usual, start with finished projects and then go into works in progress, and then an eats and reads section where I talk about maybe things we're cooking up or recipes or books that I am reading. And yeah, so let's get started. The first finished project I would like to share with you is one from June actually, but I think when I recorded, it was finished, but maybe the pattern wasn't released yet. This is the Salty Air Tea, and it is a pattern by Samantha Guerin, and mine is the yarn color is darker than this, but I think it's correcting. Let me see if I can turn it down a little bit. So it's a lace yoke tee. Actually, now that I turn it down, you can't really see it very well. Maybe if I kind of turn it to the side, you'll be able to see it better. So I decided, let's see here. So I decided to use a skein by Samantha of Lavender Loon Yarn Company, and she has these 150 gram skeins of Superwash Blue-Faced Leicester, or BFL, that's the breed of sheep, yarn. And calculating out the yardage, I thought, okay, I think I can knit the size that I signed up for with using that yarn. And I thought that it was it's variegated, but the coloring seemed to be dispersed enough that there wouldn't really be any pooling. And then I figured if there was pooling after the yoke section, I could always alternate skeins by pulling from the center and the outside, or just dividing up the cake into 2. However, I didn't end up alternating at all. And I love how it turned out. It is beautiful. There is no color pooling. And I knit mine, I think just maybe ½ an inch longer than what the pattern called for. And I will insert photos here on the screen so you can see me wearing it, since I'm not wearing it right now. It is a short sleeve tee, knit from the top down. I used US 4 needles as called for in the pattern. Let me see if I can find my information here. And I knit the second size to give me about 3 to 4 inches of positive ease. It is a size inclusive pattern. I can't remember if there was 9 or 10 sizes. And the gauge is 24 stitches by 38 rounds, and that's for 4 inches of blocked stockinette. Ribbing is on US 3 or 3.25 millimeter needles, and the main fabric is on US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles. And my skein of yarn started at actually 160 grams, which was good because after my swatch, I had a little bit less than that. And I don't think I ended up having to pull out my swatch either, but I did end up with like less than 2 grams of yarn. So it worked out really well for me. And I love how it turned out, and it's a really good fit. And I'm not much of a lace yoke knitter, but this lace yoke was, I thought, well written. It's charted and written out, I believe. And I followed the written out part, and it blocked out really, really nice. And this yarn is known for its long staple, which means that even with some friction, it is less likely to pill. So this will be a nice hard-wearing tee. Because of the lace, I will not be one that'll wear it on its own, but I will have to wear it, well, not have to, but I will choose to wear it over a tank top or over like a sleeveless dress or a strappy dress. And I think the sleeves might be long enough that in the fall, I could even wear, I have a black short sleeve dress that I think the sleeves are short enough that they wouldn't poke through. So I could always wear it with that in the fall for a very moody feel to it. And yeah, I really like it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I do think a beginner to lace yokes could definitely knit this. And you know, even a beginner sweater knitter, not necessarily lace yoke, but what was I gonna say? There was something else I want. Oh, I would say that if you are a beginner, there's nothing wrong with the pattern to start with this. It's more so that it's fingering weight. So I know personally, when I was starting out, knitting with fingering weight yarn seemed like it would take forever because, you know, the fabric is so much, not necessarily denser, but you know, there's more stitches per inch, right? And it would just take that much longer versus, you know, a sweater with worsted weight on US 8s or even DK weight on US 7s, but knitting on US 4s on a fingering weight sweater feels like it would take forever. So I do still think it is a beginner friendly pattern. I think you just have to have it in your mind ahead of time if you are okay with knitting a fingering weight sweater versus, you know, a heavier weight or even a fingering weight sweater on a looser gauge. So I do recommend this pattern and I thought it was super fun to test. Thank you, Samantha, for letting me test for you. So I thought I might have other finished projects to share with you today, but I don't. I do have a giant pile of works in progress to share with you. Now, 2 of them are test knits, so I won't be able to share much about them, but maybe I'll show you a little sneak peek. I don't know. Yeah, maybe we'll start with that. So I have one in this super cute little bunny bag. I sewed this up, I think last summer, and this pattern, or this fabric, main fabric pattern, is by designer Cecilia Muck. She's an Asian Australian designer, or fabric, it would be fabric illustrator, fabric designer. I don't really know the terminology for that. In this bag, I have a test knit for Tiff Nealon. It is her quill tee, and it'll be coming out, I think, end of July, maybe? I think so. And the yarn that I'm using is not the yarn in her sample. I'm using Linen Quill by Pearl Soho. And my main color here is Wheat Flower. It's kind of a standard beigey color, kind of like the color of my wall here. My contrast color is Rosewood Pink that I have remaining from my first half and half triangles wrap. That pattern is also by Pearl Soho. And here is the tag. I don't know if it's gonna focus here. it is 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. Maybe it won't focus, I'm not sure. I feel like the phone focusing is always a little tricky when you have the front facing camera. And by tricky, I mean I don't think it focuses very well. So sorry about that. Technical difficulties. And I am almost done. So I'm just gonna show you a sneak peek. I went ahead and did the sleeves first before I finished the rest of the body, just to change up the pace a little bit. And I am knitting the standard size, or a standard length, body length. It comes in a cropped and a standard. And I think I'm knitting size 2. I don't have my notebook open to that page, but I usually knit the size 2 for Tiff's patterns, which generally give me like 3-ish inches of positive ease. So here's a quick sneak peek of it. Oh, it's so beautiful. I love the delicate yoke. I've steam blocked it a little bit, so you can see how drapey it is. This is going to be so nice and a beautiful neutral. And my inspiration for this was dried flowers. I have some dried zinnias from last summer, and they kind of have this like mauvey color to it. They're definitely not as bright as they were alive or, you know, freshly cut, but they have this beautiful romantic quality to it, and that's what I was going for in this tee. So depending on when I record next, maybe it'll be another month, but I will try to share the finished project at that time. And if you are curious for the details ahead of time, I do share on my Instagram at edible.thoughts.makes, and I usually share the finished photos on the day of the pattern release. So you can keep an eye out there. Let's see. The next one I'll share with you, oh, did I even bring it over? I seem to be missing a bag. Oh, I know why. So it is my coloring book tee, and that is a test knit for Amy Sure. And that pattern, I believe, also comes out end of July, and I am almost done with it. I've finished the sleeves, the body, and I'm just working on a neckline right now. And I am playing around with needle sizes for the neckline. And so since it's pretty much done, I did not bring that bag over here to share it with you, because I will share it with you when it's completely finished. However, I have cast on a second one. So in Amy's pattern, she has 2 views. One has a 3/4 length sleeve, and the other one is a short sleeve and cropped. And you can mix and match however way you want to. But as testers, usually we try to stick to one view so that we can give her yardage for, you know, how much yarn, excuse me, so that we can give her yardage estimates and stuff. But I decided I was gonna cast on a second one, and I'm gonna do view A. So my first one is view B, the one I'm not sharing with you today. And I cast on a second one, view A, which, I mean, is not really part of the test since I signed up for view B, but, well, and also I'm not gonna be able to finish this one for like the deadline of the test. So I am using this beautiful soft peach color, and this yarn is a new base that I'm trying. It is also by Pearl Soho, just like the linen quill, but this is their Santalina base. And let's see here, it's 70% organically grown cotton, 20% rayon from bamboo, and 10% hemp. I was going to show you the tag, but since nothing is focusing that way, I'm not sure that's very helpful. Here's my swatch. And I do little holes here for the US needle sizes. So this is a US 4 needle size, so I have 4 yarn overs. So you just do a yarn over and then knit 2 together. And I try to do it on the edge so it doesn't mess with my gauge on the rest of the fabric. But yeah, it's beautiful on a US 4 at 24 stitches per inch. I mean, 24 stitches for 4 inches and 32 rounds for 4 inches. So I'm gonna show you, oh, so this is what it looks in skein form. This is what it looks in caked up form. and it feels so nice. And actually being mostly cotton, it's not hurting my hands. I know sometimes when you knit with plant-based fibers, it can seem, there's not as much stretch as there is with wool fibers. And so sometimes it can hurt your hands as you're knitting, but so far I've actually felt fine knitting with it. And again, I don't have a ton of experience knitting with plant-based fibers, but I'm really excited to try this one out. So this is where I'm at. I'm in the raglan increases for the yoke currently. And I love how the raglan is looking. I'm really enjoying the fabric. It's nice and drapey, and I just think it's going to be such a nice piece. Now the pattern does have you use 2 colors. There's like a little bit of contrast in all of the ribbing sections, but I am just doing 1 color. One, because I'm using this new to me yarn and I wasn't gonna buy 100 grams of another color just to use like a tiny bit of it. Just not like economically, doesn't make money sense. I can't think of the word, but I just wasn't gonna do it. And also I kind of just wanted to make one that was all in 1 color. So the weight of the yarn is, I think, a little bit closer to sport weight, but because it's plant-based, or not plant-based, I'm thinking plant-based foods, because it's a plant fiber, it behaves a little bit differently from animal fibers. And even though it's at 328 yards for 100 grams, it knits up, I don't want to say knits up thinner, but as you could see, my gauge at 24 stitches on a US 4, that's the same gauge I would get using a fingering weight wool yarn. So I don't really know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but hopefully you understand what I mean. I feel like if you're gonna switch to a plant fiber, you need to go down needle size to match the same gauge you would get with an animal fiber. Loosely, just generally speaking. So it worked in this case. I didn't go down needle size, but then my yarn weight went up slightly to account for that. I hope that made sense. And if it didn't, I'm very sorry. Okay, on to the next work in progress. This one is housed in a wildflower themed project bag that I also sewed last summer, I think. There's dandelions, elderflower, red clover, chamomile. Oh, I love it. It's summer to me. And so in June, mid to late June, is when our monarch butterflies come up here up north from Mexico, and they rely solely on milkweed. They lay their eggs on the milkweed, and once the caterpillars come out, they eat the milkweed. And we had planted some milkweed, I believe it was 2 years ago, and they have been blooming, and we've been seeing monarchs, and it's really exciting. The chrysalis you won't find on the milkweed. I can't remember how many yards away it says that the chrysalis usually can be found from the milkweed, but we have yet to see any chrysalis. So chrysalises? We are on the lookout. So last summer we did get to see some of the caterpillars, so that was super exciting. And this summer we haven't seen any yet, but I decided to knit a second ranunculus, which has nothing to do with milkweed, but I do have a monarch butterfly progress keeper marking the center front here. And I was so enamored with the first one that I knit. This is a pattern by Midori, and I love the textured yoke pattern. It's kind of like there's some lacy eyelet sections, but it's mostly a textured yoke. And the first one I knit with 2 single ply fingering weight yarns held together, and this time I'm using a superwash merino yarn that's a heavy fingering or light sport weight, and I have that held together. And this yarn I've had for maybe 3 years. It's by the Yarn Collective. It's the Fleurville 4-ply collection, and this yarn colorway is called Stem. I don't know what happened to this one. Looks like it's just a little bit tangled, but it's a very can it be a highly variegated tonal? Anyway, the darks and lights are pretty significant, and so I knew that the yarn would pool in any sort of garment I would make. And instead of having to alternate skeins, I'm just holding the yarns together and letting the colors, the darks and lights, kind of mix on their own. So I started with 4 of them. I had bought them on sale from Lovecrafts, and I think I bought them for like $11 or $12 for a 100-gram skein. And so I had 4 of them. So I have plenty to knit a full length, and I believe maybe 3/4 length sleeves, depending on if I taper the sleeves or not. We'll see about that part. But I have the sleeves on the 16-inch cable holders right now. And the yoke's done, and it's on the body, and I am doing a little bit of waist shaping. And by that, I mean I am doing 2 decreases on each side. So I'll take in 4 stitches, and at my gauge, I'm at 16 stitches for 4 inches, and that's different from the pattern, but it makes for really easy math because with 4 stitches, that's 4 stitches an inch. So with each decrease round that I do, I'm decreasing or pulling in the body circumference by 1 inch. So I am doing a little bit of waist shaping, and then at some point I'll just knit straight. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this is turning out. I love how the color is a deep, rich green, and there is still slight pooling. I don't even know if you could call that pooling, or like a little bit of striping maybe. And that's just from how much contrast there is, but I think it's showing up a little higher contrast on screen than it does in real life. If I hold it a little farther back, I think you get a better idea of the richness of this green. But it is so soft, and it's very, how would I describe it? Like hug feeling. I feel like when I wear it, it's gonna feel almost like a weighted blanket, but maybe not super heavy. Something you wanna put on a rainy day and curl up on a couch and read or knit. But there's no hurry for this one. I would love to have it done for fall because I won't be wearing it in the height of summer. But I do want to get it done at some point because I will need those cables for the sleeves back for other sweaters that I might want to knit. So love this, and it may or may not, actually it probably won't be done by the time I talk to you next if it's in a month. Not because I can't get it done in a month, but because I have other things going on. And since there's no hurry to wear that one, I would rather get, like that coloring book tee and that cotton fiber done before I go onto something that I won't be wearing this summer. Let's see. I have 2 more works in progress to share with you. Actually, we'll do this one first. So in this rainbow donut project bag, I think I sewed this 2 or 3 years ago, I don't remember. I have a pair of socks that I'm knitting for my daughter, and this I would like to have finished just to get it off my needles since I've had it on my needles for a while. However, because her feet continue to grow, I don't want to finish it before she has a chance to wear it and then potentially outgrow it. Kids' feet just grow so fast, and I kind of want to have it for her for like the first week of school, just to have, something fun to remind her of summer and something fun for her to wear to school. So here they are. I think I've shown them on here before, at least once or twice. And I'm not following a specific pattern. I'm doing what I want to. This yarn is by Christina of Teal Torch Knits. It's this fluorescent, very highly variegated yarn. I would say like the main color on it is this like neon yellow, and then you've got all these other colors. So what's kind of fun is in this yarn, I do want it to pool because it's kind of fun when it pools. So it's pooling like bands of yellow with all of this rainbow neon. And I did a knit one, purl one ribbing for the cuff, and I knit it longer so that she can have it folded down. She really likes her socks to be more snug around her ankles. And then I did a shadow wrap heel, and I followed the tutorial by my friend Denise of Earth Tones Girl. And I'm using US 1 or 2.25 millimeter needles, and I cast on 56 stitches. This is a light fingering weight yarn at 463 yards for 100 grams. So at 56 stitches, I believe my gauge is closer to 9 stitches per inch, 8.5 or 9 stitches per inch. So it should give her 0 ease. But also, I am knitting this top of the foot, the instep part, with ribbing, so it will still hug her feet, even if it's at 0 negative ease. I think because of the ribbing, it ends up having more negative ease, but it also has room to stretch. So I did a knit 3 purl one, but every other round I do just knit. So I think that's a broken rib. Anyway, alternating knit 3 purl 1 with just a knit round. And the bottom of the sock is stockinette. And I think maybe what I'll do is I'll knit to a certain point in the foot where I think would be a good place to stop, and I'm just gonna put in like 2 double pointed needles or something just to hold the stitches. And then that way, end of August, early September rolls around, I can measure her feet again and then knit the toe. I mean, I just don't think she's gonna be wearing these anytime soon with it being so hot right now, and I want them to fit her when she starts school. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I mean, I think I'll just put them on double pointed needles that I'm not really using when I get to a good stopping point, and that way I can have these sock needles back to cast on another pair of socks. Okay, last work in progress to share with you. You'll have to thank my children for being so nice to me right now and letting me talk uninterrupted to nobody. I mean, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to people, but to have this conversation with myself uninterrupted is, I mean, I can't even have conversations with other people uninterrupted with them around. So anyway, the last one I'd like to share with you is in this beautiful project bag, and it is my half and half triangles wrap. It is my 4th one. This one I am knitting up also in Purl Soho's linen quill. This color is peachy pink. It is basically a neon or this fluorescent melon color, and I am pairing it with Pink Pop, which is a cool toned hot pink. And this one is called Garden Bouquet to remind me of our zinnias and our lilies, and basically this burst of color that summer brings. And we just look so forward to it after long winters. This is where I'm at. So the pattern is a free pattern, and it comes in 2 sizes. 260 stitches is the large size, 190 stitches is a small size. I've knit both the large one and a medium one at 230 stitches. This one, just as a refresher, I cast on only 220 stitches instead of the 230 because I had used part of this peachy pink in the yoke of, where did I put my thing? I had used the peachy pink yarn in the yoke of my Sonder pullover, and so I had less to begin with. So I think I had about 180 grams to start, and knowing my yardage, my grams use from previous ones, I thought I would probably have to back off just a little bit. So instead of casting on 230 stitches, I did 220. And I just weighed my yarn and counted how many stitches I've left, and I'm pretty sure I can make it with maybe like 5 grams to spare. So everybody's gauge will vary and your tension's gonna change and all of that stuff, so don't take my word for how you should cast yours on. But if you've watched previous episodes, you'll know that in the pattern, it recommends you buy 3 skeins of each color, so 6 skeins total to knit the large size. And in my experience, when I knit the large size using the recommended needles of US 3, I barely went into my 3rd skein. And partially it's because their skeins actually come with a generous amount of yarn. So I've not received any that are just 100. I think 105, 106, even 107 grams. And so that gives you some cushion as well. And so I have been able to cast on medium sizes, just purchasing 2 skeins of yarn with, you know, a little bit left over, maybe 5-10 grams. And so with this one, since I knew I'd be cutting it close, I just cast on a few less stitches. The tricky part is that because you're casting on your total amount of stitches at once, it isn't like you can just stop early if you run out of yarn. You kind of have to finish your triangle unless you want to add in a different color or something like that. So I'm staring at my giant pile here, and I believe that is everything that I wanted to talk to you about. And as far as eats and reads go, I don't know if I have any more like food type of stuff that I wanted to chat about. I try not to have the oven on too much in the summer just because it heats up the kitchen so much. And we do try to use the grill to cook outside, which is also nice because there's much less cleanup. But yeah, we've been eating a lot of fresh stuff from the garden, which is wonderful. As far as books go, I recently finished The Bonesetter's Daughter by Amy Tan, and that was really good. She has such a great way of including you in the conversation. It just feels like someone is talking to you, not at you. And I am reading it from a book, not an audiobook, but it still feels like I'm included in the conversation. There are very relatable points in there. And yeah, just overall, it's a really good read. So the second Amy Tan book I'm reading right now is The 100 Secret Senses, and I just started it. And I thought I had read it before, but so far it doesn't sound super familiar, so I may not have. It was published in 1995, so it's been out for quite some time. I have read The Kitchen God's Wife and The Joy Luck Club. She's very well known for The Joy Luck Club. I don't remember when that was published. But yeah, she's a Chinese American author, and here she is on the back of this book. And I just really like her writing style. I feel like I'm not very good at book reviews because I never want to give away what the story is. And I know you could just read the jacket cover or go on Goodreads or something like that to find out more if you want to. But yeah, I don't know what to tell you about it, but I just started it and I am really enjoying it so far. And I probably won't end up telling you about it when I come back to chat with you next time, because I probably will have long finished it and won't remember what to tell you about. But I will say the book starts in the 1960s and I think goes 3 decades, so pulls you along into the 1990s, and it is about family and love and trust and ghosts and culture, and it's set in San Francisco and also takes you along to southern China, in a remote village in southern China. So if you have not read any of Amy Tan's books, I do recommend her as an author, and I just really like her writing style. So yeah, that is it for Eats and Reads. I think that is everything. Let me just double check my notes here. If there was anything else I wanted to chat about. Oh, one thing. If you are eligible to vote, I highly recommend you register to vote if you haven't already. And online you can search for your election dates in your area, the primary election dates, and oh, by the way, this is for the United States, and research your candidates. Oftentimes you can pull up a sample ballot. I don't know, I say oftentimes only because I don't know how it works for every state, but if you can pull up a sample ballot, the candidates will be written on there, and sometimes they have a hyperlink to their website or somewhere else where you can find out more information about them. But I do recommend doing your research on candidates to find out if they represent what you believe in and what you are passionate about. That way you can be an informed voter when you go to the polls, or if you decide to vote by absentee ballot. Also, know your deadlines. Know the rules for when things have to get in by so that they count. Just be an informed voter so that you can make sure that your vote counts. And I think that's it. I think that is all that I wanted to share with you today. I hope you are doing well and taking care of yourselves and your loved ones. It can be a hard world out there, but I do believe that we can find the joy and the calm in each day as we need to, even if it is closing our eyes for 10 seconds and taking deep breaths, or, you know, doing little things. And I'm also somebody who will write something down after I've already done it, just so I can check it off. There's just some satisfaction of being able to check off something that I've done, even though I know I already did it. And I don't know if you're that way too, but if you are, let me know. But if you don't want anybody to know, you don't have to let me know in the comments below. It is, anyway, it's just how I am. So cheers to being creative, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.